What is going on, guys? It's your boy, Atypical Security Guard, finishing up. Just gonna do it. I am tired. Luckily, I think that tomorrow I just want to spend the entire day with my wife. I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna have dinner with her. I'm gonna sit, talk to her, see how she's doing. And then tomorrow, it's just gonna be a day for the two of us. The two of us and our dog. We need time together. So yesterday I had a former coworker that showed up to cover a shift. This guy, he worked with our company like maybe 6 or 7 months ago, decided to go a different path. And then he showed up yesterday to fill in for somebody. And he was like, hey, I'm back. I'm working for the company again. And I was happy to see him. I want to shout out my man, Victor. He watches my videos. So Victor, if you're watching this video, I'm making this video kind of for you, okay? Because one of the things that Victor said to me when he came in yesterday was, I really need to get some training. I was kind of going through looking for training, looking for information when I was working with the company before. I switched companies, worked for this other place for a while. Now I'm back. I still feel like there's a lot that I need to learn, a lot that I need to try and get better at, which we all do. It's not just you, Victor, we all do. But he was like, I need to learn more. And he was asking me my opinion on some stuff. Something that we talk about a lot in private security, on this platform a lot, right? On YouTube, my channel, some other great channels that are out there. We talk about for private security officers and guards to get more training, to seek out more training. Now, the question is, what training do we need? I have made a couple of videos over the last couple of days where I'm trying to basically start a series. The series is going to be called Realistic, right? And in the Realistic series, we're going to talk about everything from EDC to fitness to personal self-protection to everything that goes along with private security. And the goal of that series is just to break down all the bullshit, strip away all the stuff that doesn't matter, and just get down to the realism. So when it comes to training, what does a private security guard realistically need to have to be successful? Now, you might be asking yourself, what is successful for a private security guard? Most people who watch this channel, if you don't follow my channel, if you don't follow my platform, if you're not here all the time, if you're just peeking in because you see me in this uniform, understanding of the depth and the entirety of what it is that we offer our clients. But to the people who do, you might be asking yourself, what do I need? How can I be successful? What is successful? How do I make a 6-figure career out of this? How do I protect myself? How do I make sure that I don't find myself in a situation where I'm legally liable or civilly liable? Guys, that's the answer there. You need to be trained well enough to be able to, number one, and this is a great piece of advice here, the most important thing that you have to be trained to do as a private security guard or a private security officer is, drum roll, you ready? Follow instructions. That's the number one thing. That's it. Follow instructions. I know you were thinking it was going to be something cool. Be able to fight. Be able to use a firearm. Be able to rappel down the side of a building. Be able to withstand pepper spray and tasers. No. The main thing that you have to be able to do to be successful. There's a lot of people that do private security, but they're not successful at it, right? The main thing that you have to be able to do is follow directions. Why? Because we work in a private capacity. We work for a entity. We don't work for a government agency. We don't work for a municipal agency. We're not entrusted with the power to do things like law enforcement officers. We have to operate in a very small window, right? And we have to adhere to a very strict writing of orders. And if we don't do that, the companies that we work for and the contractors that we serve are liable. So everything that we do in private security at our level, it all comes down to liability. In fact, many of the only reasons why we're in certain locations is to lower their liability. Retail establishments, they have to provide a level of security for their customers and for their employees. The fact that we're there lowers the liability. If you're working event staff or concert security, they have to provide that to ensure the safety of crowd control, movement from one place to another. The fact that we're there, that lowers liability. Banks, warehouses, every opportunity where a security guard is working, we are simply there to lower liability. Now, in those situations that we find ourselves in, are we also there to deter crime, to deter theft, to stop or intervene from acts of violence? Of course. But by doing that, what do? We lower liability. So here's the important thing. If you don't follow the written instructions that are there to help ensure that we lower liability, you are actually raising the liability. And if you're raising the liability for your employer, if you're raising the liability for the contract holder, you are not going to remain on the contract. When it comes to training, people have all kinds of ideas. You should take CQB training. You should take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training. You should do firearms training. You should become a TCCC combat medic. You should learn how to do Narcan and CPR and be able to resuscitate a person who has suffered an overdose. From platform to platform, channel to channel, creator to creator, advice, advice, advice. But the one thing that most people neglect to tell every security guard and security officer out there is that the number one thing that you have to learn, the number one thing that you have to be good at, the number one thing that you have to accept is that your job is to follow the post orders of the people who sign the checks. Now, that being said, should you learn CQB? Absolutely. Should you become certified and comfortable and knowledgeable in medical procedures in terms of like applying tourniquets, utilizing an AED machine, giving CPR? Should you, if you work in an area like Portland, understand how Narcan works, how to administer it? Of course. Of course. Should you be good with a firearm? Should you be able to engage a threat at 20 yards, 25 yards, 30 yards? Should you be able to utilize a rifle? Of course. But all of these things, the CQB tactics, the medical tactics, understanding how Narcan works, how to administer it, understanding all of the things that come along with CPR and first aid, all of that is important, but not for the reason that you think. It's not because you're going to most likely, in all realistic circumstances, employ that as a private security guard. I was sitting in my location today and I was thinking, how far is it from one end of the store to the other? And I asked a couple of people. Some people said 100 yards from wall to wall. Some people said maybe it's about 75, 80 yards from wall to wall. And I'm looking and I'm thinking to myself, how many people are currently in this store? And there was probably at any given time 100, 125 people. And I was thinking to myself, if there was a mass shooter that was directly in front of me at this register, how would I respond to that realistically? How would that change if they were 15 yards away from me? What if they were 30 yards away from me? What if they were on the entire other side of the store and I heard those gunshots and everyone's running my direction to get out of the location? What would I do? And there was a different answer for each one of those scenarios. But then I had to think about the realistic situation, because we actually had a circumstance a year ago where there was thought to be an active shooter. Some of you have heard this story, the story of the shooting of Officer Bobby Smallwood. It happened less than a mile away from where I'm sitting right now at Legacy Hospital. A person shoots a security guard. He leaves the hospital and is thought to have come into the location where I'm at. Within minutes, the entire SWAT team arrives. They fan out. They enter into the stairwells. They come in through the store. They're directing traffic. They're pushing people out. They're searching for this potential shooter. The security guards that were on site that day, I wasn't working, but the security guards who were on site that day, they did not even have the time. They did not even have the time to potentially seek out, search, or engage that potential shooter. And you know what? That's not our responsibility. It's not our responsibility. At that moment in time, once the police had entered into the location, once the police had gotten here and said, this is what's happening, this is what's going on, our responsibility is to turn that situation over to law enforcement. The thumbnail for this video is a security guard dressed as Superman. I think that one of the worst things that we can do in our industry is to overestimate what it is that we're here for and what it is that we can do, and to also overestimate what we bring to the table. Now, you might go out, you might seek out CQB training. You might seek out the greatest medical training that there is. You might seek out trauma care and post-situation counseling. You might have all of that. And based on the contract that you're working, you might not be authorized to perform any of it. That's the realistic nature of what we do in private security. As much as I want you guys to understand the importance of training, as much as I want you to take whatever class you want, as much as I want you to better yourself, as much as I want you to become more educated, as much as I want you to become more knowledgeable, the one thing that you have to understand is that if it's not in your contract, if it's not something that has been negotiated between the contractor, your employer, and it hasn't been put on paper, if it's not a part of the standing operating procedures, if it's not a part of the post orders, you most likely do not have the authority to do it. And by doing it, instead of lowering that liability, you might be raising that liability. Some of you are going to hear this and you're going to argue with me. Some of you are going to hear this and you're going to say, you know what? That guy, whatever. Fuck him. He's de-escalation this. He's hands off that. He's this, that, and the third. What does he know? I'm the tip of the spear. Well, good luck with that. At the end of the day, if you can't follow instructions, at the end of the day, you can't do what the employer is asking and what the contract holder is desiring, you will not remain on that contract. And if you go rogue because you want to prove yourself, because you want to show that you're just as good, just as knowledgeable, just as able as a police officer, you will ultimately find that you're going to be out on the street and not working in this capacity. There is a benefit to taking classes, learning, and becoming better educated. And I want to make sure that I hit on that before I get off of this stream. What is it? Your own personal well-being. Guys, you work as a security guard. You are not a security guard. Let me say this again. You work as a security guard. You are not a security guard. What are you? You're a son. You're a daughter. You're a husband. You're a mother. You're a father. whatever your role is in life, you have responsibilities not only to yourself, but your loved ones. You have a responsibility not only to yourself and your loved ones, but your community, the people that count on you, the people that are around you, the people that live in your neighborhood. Guys, I don't know if you're watching what's happening around you, if you're looking outside of your window, if you're aware of what's going on in the world. Things are getting worse. The uncertainty is at an all-time high. The division at an all-time high. And your ability to protect yourself and your family and those you care about, your ability to operate a pistol and a rifle, your ability to be able to provide medical care to the people that you love, your ability to understand how to deal with stressful situations, potentially harmful situations, all of the things that you think you're training for so that you can be a well-rounded security guard are all things that you can take into your everyday life. And I would say are all things that you should take into your everyday life. That is where the CQB, that is where the TCCC, that is where all of the stuff that you're wanting to learn and implement for these jobs that could care less about us, that's where the benefit is. I am 110% behind security guards learning as much as they can. Take the CQB class, take the rifle class, take the pistol class. Learn defensive tactics, learn how to operate a knife, learn how to utilize a flashlight as something more just an illumination device. Learn how to prep, learn fieldcraft, learn bushcraft, do all of it. But you're not doing it so that you can come into a situation where you're not even contractually obligated to do that stuff and put your life on the line when they're not asking you to do that. But for your family and for your neighborhood and for your community, and potentially, if things get bad enough, maybe for your country. That's where you have your opportunity to shine. All right? That's my message for you guys tonight. Victor, that is my message for you tonight. I want to thank you guys for taking your time to sit here and listen to me ramble. As always, I appreciate you being here. If you're here from the security community, if you're here from the 2A community, if you're here from the personal protection community, if you're not just stopping by, you're actually here to learn, I want you to like, share, and subscribe. Become a member of what we're doing on my channel. We've got some great playlists on there, defensive tactics, knife tactics, gun retention, tons of videos, tons of podcasts, a lot of information for people that are in the private security industry. If you want to support what we're doing, go to bonesandbrewsecuritygear.com, pick up a patch, a t-shirt, support me. That's bonesandbrewsecuritygear.com. One more time for all the slow people in the back. That's bonesandbrewsecuritygear.com. Get yourself a patch or a t-shirt and support the movement. Hashtag security guards matter. Guys, I want you to go and do your absolute best, not just to uplift the community, but to uplift yourself. All right? If you're working, be safe, watch your back. As always, watch your six and be great. Take care. Be great.